So this is my review for The Antichrist, which came out in 1974. The Antichrist is an Italian, I guess you'll say, religious horror film that came out after The Exorcist. The film was obviously, surely, a cash grab of sorts to capitalize on the success of the latter's popularity, but The Antichrist falls short in many ways. Though there are beautiful, beautiful shots in the film, the filmography is actually very beautiful, honestly. The greatest downfall is the plot itself. Beautiful camera work cannot save a bad fucking plot. I'll tell you that. In the years since The Exorcist, there's been a standard formula for exorcism movies, but The Antichrist follows this too closely. In many ways, the movie is just copying the homework without adding anything new at all. You know, it's one thing to know the quote unquote right answer, but if you don't show your work, what are you really doing here? I will admit, I have not watched The Exorcist movie, but I have read the book. And that is enough to know, I'll tell you the truth. Even just reading the Exorcist book is enough for me to know that the Antichrist shamelessly takes from this. Just shamelessly just rips it off so hard. Some of the ideas between the two media, of course, is changed, but not greatly. I didn't want to compare the two initially, but it's hard when some of the ideas, like I said, are blatant ripoffs. A quick summarization of the plot is that the main character, Ippolita, believes that she can't walk in the decades since a car crash that killed her mother. Ippolita is very attached to her father and detests the idea of him finding someone new to love. Ippolita has no reason to believe that she can't walk because doctors prove that there's no actual health problem causing this. A psychiatrist examines her, and this leads to like some sort of past life recall where it's revealed that Ippolita is the reincarnation of an ancestor with the same exact name. This ancestor was basically in league with Satan, to put it very quickly, and had intercourse with him too, presumably, at a witch's Sabbath. Ippolita becomes possessed and sexual because I think it's implied that Ippolita was a virgin, and she's able to walk again. She ends up at a sightseeing tour of some sorts and has relations. She starts making out with some random guy, only not to remember it. She then wakes up in a field, normal, and unable to walk again. Eventually, Ippolita becomes more possessed and vulgar, following the track, of The Exorcist, down to having, the regular actress's voice for Ippolita, and then later on, when she's being more like demonic and possessed, she is dubbed over with some male voice. And I tried to see in at least the Wikipedia article, I was like, who was that? And I don't know. I don't know who did the male voice for the demonic Ippolita. So she ends up being exorcised, and at the end of the film, she runs out of her home, potentially to jump off of a building, but is saved by her father, who just forces her to hug a giant cross. At the end of the movie, she seems to be normal, and she walks away with her father and some other character. The movie wasn't horrible, but it wasn't something that I would watch again, honestly. And I feel like I say this a lot, but I do watch a lot of trash too. As stated before, there were very beautiful shots, very beautiful camera work. And it's strange because there was this high quality to this film in many ways. You can easily see everything that's going on. The audio was quite well. I didn't have a problem hearing what they were saying. And I'm not fluent in Italian, but I know a bit. And for someone that's not fluent in Italian, I was able to say, oh, I was able to understand some of the things they were saying. So I'm in that end, it's like, okay, this is good quality. in that sense. But the story negates all of that, which is really sad because you see very beautiful shots of the Italian countryside, and many of the settings in the film are very beautifully decorated. You see beautiful Italian architecture. But for me, the plot is bad enough to just basically forget all of that. The idea is that Ippolita, I guess, is losing her faith and doesn't want to lose her father to another woman. The more the movie went on, I actually felt less inclined to care about Ippolita because she didn't appear, honestly, to suffer from demonic possession for majority of the film, but some sort of mental illness. I mean, to me, I'm like, girl, you need a fucking Klonopin. That's what you need. Shit. I don't know if we're supposed to suspend our disbelief for the entire film, but it's hard for me to seriously believe that Ippolita had very much to do with Satan. This was established from honestly nearly the beginning of the film, where Ippolita and her father go to a statue of the Virgin Mary, where the idea is to touch the statue and it would heal her and allow her to walk again. But Ippolita falls, not even reaching the statue. Somehow, this knocks down her faith, like as if God has abandoned her. And I didn't understand how this would be enough for her to become possessed, when all she could have fucking done was get up and walk towards the statue with her father. The opening scene to the movie was interesting because it really seemed like it was trying to portray how the statue did help those that touched it, but it also showed the pure religious fanaticism. One woman was brought to the statue by her family and she spit on it, calling the Virgin Mary a whore. But as soon as she touched the statue, she became calm. This woman was actually one of the ones that helped Ippolita up when she fell on the floor. One of the people there was this really gross looking guy with like green slime coming down his face. And he was obviously like at the end of his life due to his possession, but he ends up jumping off a building with, killing himself. This was said, I don't know. The idea of this was to cement his like possession and relation with Satan, because I guess if you're possessed by Satan but you jump off a building, that means you still killed yourself, which means you're going to hell still. Whatever. The green screen effect of him jumping off was really silly to me. Granted, that's probably the best they could have done at the time. While I applaud the makeup department for making him really gross, it was almost too well done, I'll say. And I know that's like, really? How are you going to say it's too good? Yeah, it was, because he was nasty. I had a hard time watching the green puke come out. I was like, ew, that is gross. As the movie moves on, I found it strange how we're just supposed to care about Ippolita. She doesn't appear to want to better herself in any way, and nearly actually everyone in the movie cares about her, which is strange because the character insists that no one really loves her, despite the fact that everyone in the fucking movie's life revolves around her. Near the end of the movie, Ippolita vomits green puke, very much like what you see in the clips, from The Exorcist, probably using the same fucking recipe they did, which I believe is like mashed up green peas or something. Of course, this was disgusting, and I had a hard time watching this part of the movie. She forces a guy to eat it, and when I saw that, I wanted to throw up. I was like, oh God, no. The movie is nearly 2 hours long, but strangely, it didn't feel like it dragged along the entire time. And I know that's weird because the movie's not that great. There were concepts I did find interesting, but I do question how much I found to be entertaining. Where the parts I found interesting just ripped off from The Exorcist. You know what I mean? I honestly believe that this book even though I haven't seen all of The Exorcist, I've only seen clips of it. I really believe that The Antichrist, this movie, took from both the book and the film, you know? And that's why I question how good was it really if they ripped off something else, you know? In some ways, I could see why they wanted to create their own version. I feel like there was a lot of potential to create something scary, something very entertaining because of their location. I mean, just think about it. Imagine what could have been with the actual proximity, their proximity to the Vatican. This is an Italian movie. There's a lot of wasted potential here. I don't find the movie to be terrible. It's not as bad as the clown murders, at least. But I don't recommend it. You can watch it once and just never again, you know? There are other films that explore the idea of an exorcism better than this one. If maybe you're the type of person that likes to make your own movies or you like the artistry to something, I would say, yeah, check it out for maybe some of the shots. You know, there's this part with the green screen, the effects they use, and Ippolita's in her bed, which from an artistic point of view is actually really good. But once again, the plot to this movie is so bad that I cannot recommend it at all. So I give this a 2 out of 5 and one slime. And that's my review. So I hope you enjoyed this.